Hi there, my name is Joshua Riles, and today I'm going to be discussing the importance of cybersecurity in education as it pertains to digital citizenship. So, while we're going through the presentation today, I'd like for you to consider this guiding question. What roles does digital security play in education, and what can we all do to be more cyber secure? Let's first identify what the difference is between cybersecurity and online privacy. So, cybersecurity is different from online privacy because cybersecurity involves a collective effort of multiple people or a large entity or organization to protect computer systems, networks, sensitive data from unauthorized access, and for those organizations to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. However, online privacy has to do more with the personal efforts a person takes to control their personal identifiable information and data, such as their browsing history, their location sharing, password protection, their addresses, phone numbers, driver's license numbers, social security numbers, their financial transactions, and communication content, such as emails and text messages. Now, as we go along, we need to discuss what is the educator's role in digital security, and we also want to discuss what challenges do educators face regarding digital security and how can they be addressed. So, in an article by Sarah Schwartz about risky practices with student data, she presents the results of a 2017 survey conducted by MediaPro. In this survey, MediaPro surveyed about 900 educators and gave them varying questions about their cybersecurity practices. The survey categorized those educators into three categories. The first was risk, which was a person whose practices pose a security risk to students' data and the organization. Next, they had the novice, and a novice was somebody who had some knowledge of good cybersecurity practices, but still practices many risky cybersecurity behaviors. And then the third category was hero, and those were the individuals that had strong knowledge and practiced good cybersecurity habits as they used devices online. Now, it found that within education, 50% of those people fell into that novice ranking. Once again, that means those people had some knowledge, but they still practiced many risky behaviors. 32% actually achieved the hero ranking, where they were generally had really good cybersecurity practices, but 18%, almost a fifth of those surveyed, showed practices that incurred a lot of risk for student data and for the organization. However, overall, they found that education professionals were pretty much on par with the workforce in other industries. Now, real quick, we're going to watch a video that was produced by CBS 17 in 2021, and it talks about some of the common issues of cybersecurity and how they face and what school systems face on a regular basis.
With students now back in the classroom in both schools and universities, cyber attacks a growing concern.
Tonight, consumer investigator Steve Sparacia digging deeper to explain why everyone needs to be concerned if a school's computer system is breached.
Colonial Pipeline's ransomware attack may have gained lots of attention, but it wasn't unique.
There's, hundreds that happen behind the scenes that don't get reported on.
Educational computer systems are a rich target for bad actors, partly because, in many cases, they're so poorly protected.
Many school systems, educational systems, maybe don't even have a budget line item for cybersecurity. And so attackers see those as opportunities, if you will, to take advantage and exploit those for their own gain.
And that gain is cash to remove the ransomware and cash for the materials stored in those educational databases, materials like birthdays and social security numbers.
Well, a lot of times for these people that may be minors in the educational system, even in a higher educational system, they may be 18 or below. They really don't understand that credit world and how valuable that information is.
For example, it can be years before the parents of a K through 12 student ever realize their child's identity has been stolen and used illegally. Social engineering using phishing scams to get someone to give up a password is the way that these educational systems get breached.
Is it a good idea for these municipalities and these school systems to also train their employees?
It is important and it is practical.
And that includes annual cyber threat training, live fake phishing attempt exercises to reinforce that training, and the use of multi-factor authentication.
So I want to pause this real quick and give a little anecdotal information here. This is something that my school district does regularly. We have annual cyber threat trainings that they send out in emails that we are supposed to complete. We also are given live fake phishing attempt exercises often. They'll send out fake phishing emails, and if you report it like you're supposed to and recognize it, you get a pat on the back. And if you don't, if you click on the link and if you enter any information that you shouldn't have, then you get retrained on that, how to recognize phishing attempts and malware and ransomware. And everything we do requires multi-factor authentication. So our school district is doing a good job of making sure we are being preventative in terms of cybersecurity.
To a website and put your username and password in as usual, but then it sends a code to your phone that you have to put that code in order to continue on.
With educational cyber attacks becoming more sophisticated, experts say it's extremely important that school systems, especially elementary systems, have somebody who is exclusively dedicated to cybersecurity. Working for you, I'm consumer investigator Steve Spracia.
All right, Steve, thank you. It has been nearly
So in education, what Media Pro also found when they did that survey, they found one of the weaknesses of cybersecurity in education. They said education professionals scored comparatively low in practices meant to ensure safe mobile computing and cloud computing, two areas that are especially relevant to schools and universities. And by safe mobile computing, they're referring to the bring your own device networks and other public Wi-Fi networks and accessibility features that many schools have in place. My school district does have a bring your own device network. And the reason why those are, we scored low in those is because teachers are sometimes unaware that those networks are easily, because they are publicly accessed, they can be easily hacked, and they need to be aware of the sensitive data that they're sharing over those networks. Some of the strengths of cybersecurity in education that they recognized were, they said, in some areas, the education workforce outpaced other fields. The industry was especially adept at identifying phishing attempts, which Huber attributed to the awareness of vulnerability. Their risk area was a little bit stronger in phishing, so they responded better than most. And I can see how that would be accurate because, like I said, a lot of school districts do take the phishing attempts very seriously and do practice and the fake live phishing attempts to make sure that educators are trained properly. So, what are some tips for educators to become more cyber secure? First thing they can do is use caution when accessing those bring your own device networks and those public Wi-Fi networks. They can also be vigilant to recognize phishing, malware, and ransomware email attacks. Educators should know what student and personal information is collected when using learning apps. This is a big one. There's a lot of learning apps, educational apps out there. Know what data is collected from those students and when and if it's going to be shared and how that information is shared. Educators should update their devices regularly, make sure the most recent security firewalls are updated on them. They need to change passwords regularly. Most districts force you to change your password on a regular basis. They need to limit personally identifiable information. And they especially need to practice pause and think and when sharing or accessing information. What that means is if you get a email from, it looks like from your administrator, pause and think and say, okay, does anything look unusual about this email? Is there anything about the wording or the composition of the email that doesn't sound like your administrator or maybe your fellow employee? And just pause and think, does this sound legit? And then you can check the sender and verify that all that is correct and valid. So how can we educate students to be more vigilant about digital security practices? So not only do teachers have to be vigilant, but students have to as well. What should I teach elementary age students about cybersecurity? So we're going to break it down into elementary, middle school, and high school. So the most basic thing you need to teach elementary is general digital citizenship practices. They also need to know about device care, including not leaving their devices unattended and logged onto to where others can access them. You need to talk to them about safe online practices, about resetting their passwords on a regular basis and how to choose good, strong, quality passwords, and about what personal information they should not share online or with anyone else that they're communicating with. For middle schoolers, they need to be also taught about online privacy. They need to be, just like teachers, aware of phishing awareness, malware, and viruses. They need to know how to use the internet safely. They need to know about what digital footprints are, and they need to understand in terms of digital footprint that what you share and post can never be erased. They need to know to limit that identifiable information while gaming. If they're playing games with friends, they need to know to limit what they share with those friends. Don't share their location. Also, posting their images online. Now we have an issue with AI being able to, not only can it generate written works, but they even have AI that can generate images, and people can take your image or your likeness and generate AI images with that. So be very aware of putting your information and pictures out there. They also need to be educated about the legal consequences, the illegal consequences of inappropriate images being shared. This is when a lot of kids, teenagers, are getting their first phones, and sometimes they make poor decisions on what they share with friends or boyfriends or girlfriends, and they need to know what the legal consequences of some of those bad decisions are so that they hopefully don't make those decisions. Now finally, high school, they need to be taught about threat landscape, and what that is, that just means the big picture of the threats that they can face online. They also need to be taught about secure communication and using encrypted communications and being aware of the sensitive data that they're sharing. They need to know what social engineering is, that people will social engineer to get a desired response by sharing data or reactions on social media. They need to know about protecting sensitive info through data privacy and protection. That includes using Duo, Google, Plaid, etc. For multi-factor identification. You can also teach them about ethical hacking and penetration testing and some of the cybersecurity careers related to that. And then they need to know how to conduct online research and to properly evaluate those sources to make sure that they are quality sources. So the keys to cybersecurity. First, remember cybersecurity is a collective effort by organizations to limit how bad actors can access data, and it's also an effort of the individual to make sure that their information is being protected. Staff and students should be educated about the best cybersecurity practices. And we always start with basic steps like password protection and extend that to more advanced concepts for different age groups. Here's a list of some of the work cited that were used in the presentation. And here are some supporting resources that I accessed when doing my research for this presentation. Thank you.